Euphoria. Warning, this isn't a breakdown of lyrics. A few of them will get that treatment. Maybe. This post will focus more on other artists, podcasters, etc. Reactions to Euphoria, and my opinion on this and how this real bomb drop of this beef rattled not just Drake, but the entire hip-hop community. Also, I should mention I curse a lot through this, so if you're sensitive to that, this may not be the best blog post to read. Check out the other blog posts if you haven't already. Also, in this blog, there are flashing images ahead for those who suffer from seizures or any other similar condition. This will damn near be a rant. Viewer discretion is advised. When Euphoria dropped, I was completely in shock. Not because of the drop. Mostly everything Kendrick did, I guess he would do. I was in shock because of what that man released into the world at the time was arguably the greatest diss track of all time. Personally, all of Kendrick's diss tracks are a league of their own, and the best bullets of diss tracks ever launched at one person, and others that may or may not know it yet, and affected others. A ripple effect. Dot had a target and knew his assignment. No distractions. Well, not that we knew of. I never worried about when Kendrick was going to drop his full-length diss, because a grown-ass person isn't a follower and marched to only their rhythm, didn't rush for anyone but themselves, even if it was 2024 in this current hurry-up climate. Just because the younger generation and even the older fuck-asses were telling Kendrick to hurry up and release music doesn't mean Kendrick needed to do so. Hilarious that old heads wanted him to hurry up, considering how long diss tracks took to come out back in the days, in the 90s and so on. Due to us having instant access to social media, streaming services, YouTube, etc., where people are speaking endlessly about their opinions on the battle and pushing narratives, positive and negatively, truthfully and or fake to the masses, it makes people more impatient and they want their specialty burgers with everything on it now, even though they just ordered it a mere 2 minutes ago. People are ridiculous now. Kendrick could have waited a month or more and I would have been fine with that. However, Dot was beyond prepared and strategic. Suspense. Dot knew his opponent very well. Impatient, childish, peep freak. Anyone who wants to dispute that last part, dude literally can't stop being all up in everyone's relationship business, then trolls on IG like it's his personal pink diary with daisies on it and a spiral pen for dramatic effect. Not cute. By the way, check out my Not Like Us post to understand my peep freak comment in more detail if you haven't already. Before the song dropped, the amount of hip-hop media personalities and so on who already saw Drake as ahead after push-ups and tailor-made freestyle was ridiculous, disgusting, and shocking to me. Especially when it came to some of the East Coast legends and the more lyrical MCs in the game. Some of these individuals couldn't see Kendrick in a battle against Drake. Listen, I listened to Drake's disses to Meek Mill in their rap battle for the first time last year, and I will never understand why this battle was a big deal. That's how you know hip-hop was on a low-ass tier at that point, and the masses cared way too much about fucking ass Drake. Why? Because he said, you got bodied by a singing nigga? Really? Meek revealing that he had ghostwriters was more eye-opening, and still they were both weak disses. And that's how I feel about that. Now, again, some of these individuals couldn't see Kendrick in a rap battle against Drake, which is hilarious because a true hip-hop fan that cares about lyricism would have known Drake wouldn't have stood a chance. Drake knew this, hence why he wasn't happy that J. Cole dropped out of the battle. No one to hide behind and act like he was throwing the more lyrical bars when J. Cole is a lyricist. Too bad for all the envy J. Cole may have towards Kendrick. He didn't dislike him enough to battle him like that. Or maybe Cole's not a battle guy at all and likes people to think he is. Personally, I think he doesn't like to be challenged by anyone that is top tier lyrical and prefers to stay in a comfortable place, which is why musically Cole hasn't grown a whole lot. But I think with the right producers, let go a little Cole, and some dope music arrangements and hooks, he would be on fire. But his homie is Drake, so moving on. All these dumbass countdowns for Dot to drop. Again, no countdowns for the fragile ass boy who in essence took longer than Kendrick to drop. Push-ups, 3 weeks by the way. But let's baby the baby. I saw none of this for Drake, only for Kendrick. Tackiness. Since when do we have countdowns in rap battles beefs? I'm telling you, duck lips, acrylics, and scrunchies must be something y'all who condone this nonsense wear in secret. Low-key smacking your lips, rolling your eyes in y'all's head and saying, Kendrick needs to drop like right now. I ain't about to wait for this nigga for real. Like that's literally how you motherfuckers sound. Every fucking time I heard someone say Kendrick was on the clock, this was the vibe men seemed to be giving. And I'm not just talking about the Gen Z mofos. All of you who are millennials, zennials, I am one, and friggin' Gen Xers were out of control, acting like you were standing on a corner, shaping your nails with a blunt in your mouth, gossipy, acting spicy, but trying to act tough, all to support another lip smacker named Aubrey Graham. Gross. The motherfucker took 3 goddamn weeks. If you want to do fucking countdowns, Kendrick took 2 friggin' weeks, but somehow this was spun like he took the longest. Soft fucking ass brains, a la social fucking media. Fuck it, the internet. Think for yourself. Now where was I? Oh yeah. For instance, Mase and Camron, who were seen wearing OVO jackets. For real, y'all? These men who are respected lyrically in hip-hop sat there on their program. I don't care to mention was beyond the word bias because I didn't even know they would be like this. Like, I really didn't. Because I stopped paying much attention to them for years. To hear the shit they said, especially when Euphoria dropped, confused me. But I watched their demeanor. What and how they said it. Mase said, it was interesting. As he nods with nearly an uncomfortable smile on his face, then says, I thought it was cool. Starts grinning uneasily while Camron asks him who was winning. Mase fixes his mouth to say that, quote, Drake is winning from an MC standpoint. You know, it took a while for him to get, for us to get the record from Kendrick. And when you wait a while, it got to be like out of this world. I think if Kendrick dropped this record right after dropping Give Me 50, it would have been crazy. Side note, not the name of your boy's song, by the way, even if it was titled that way prior to the release. He goes on to say, still looking uneasy, but we waited. What the fuck? So then Camron, who equally looks uneasy, says, when asked what he thought by Mase, I don't know, man. I think Drake is winning. Euphoria didn't really move me. It didn't move me. I'm expecting lyrics. I'm expecting lyrics for Kendrick Lamar. You're expecting certain things, and so it was kind of long. Took too long to come out for us. And I'm not saying it's bad. Listen, when I wrote this blog, I have to side note this shit. When I wrote this blog, when I wrote it out, I was fucking cracking up. I was cracking up and just it's oh my God. Okay. I'm not saying it's bad. And Mase adds, it was a good record. It says it again. He says this shit twice. And that we waited a while for. It was a good record. We waited a while for. And as Camron continues to babble about a record can still be hot after waiting, quote, 2 years, 4 years later, Mase grins with Camron and says in what can be called, quote, lame-assed seriousness, Fake sagaciously says, there's a certain thing you have to have in a record that Kendrick doesn't have in his record. And then Camron chimes in saying, you gotta school these niggas. Laughing, but comes off like we're supposed to think it's confidence there when for me, I hear none. Anyways, Mase says, you gotta say something that make these niggas look at the nigga different. And when he did the whole, I don't want to hear you say nigga no more, that was a pause angle we already heard before. Camron then says the most ignorant shit ever, although they pretty much said enough, by saying, I'm not saying that this rap beef isn't entertaining, but he goes into his when we used to do this shit spiel. He says people had the potential to die, like literally, or get seriously hurt, and I just don't feel that in these battles. And I'm not promoting this. Camron said it doesn't have a dangerous atmosphere for him. I pause. I'm a New Yorker, Brownsville, Brooklyn, born in the early 80s. Any of us who were born in the 80s, 70s, 60s, etc. understood what happened during Tupac and Notorious B.I.G.'s beef and the swell of the East and West Coast rivalry it created, thanks to dummies like Diddy and the press. Some would even say Suge Knight. A fucked up time, and to see two of my favorite rappers pass away less than a year from each other is traumatizing for a teen. It was traumatizing for everyone during that time, adult or not. I think most of us still have PTSD from that time. And this fucking moron, Camron, who lives in his own comfortable bubble within his bubble head, fixed his fucking mouth to say this battle doesn't come off as, quote, dangerous. Since when does a rap battle and or beef need to get to dangerous fucking levels? Are y'all that bored? Nearing your 50s and or in your 50s, and y'all need it to be violent beef so y'all can get engagement, views? East Coast hip-hop OGs were grossly disappointing during this beef. I should have heard them rallying for this and giving some perspective, real friggin' hip-hop. Only a handful of them who respect the lyricism and the true art of hip-hop spoke out, and their respect for what was at play, specifically Kendrick's masterful dissection of Drake. I also saw East Coast OGs who reacted to a few videos, memes, etc. in favor of Kendrick. I also saw some who reacted to Drake shit on Instagram, the positive shit about him. There were artists I expected to see because of shit they've said in interviews, past and present, them equally slaughtering on the mic and showing why they are those MCs. Beautiful to see them stand on art, lyricism, and respect for this culture and not letting their ego get bruised when there isn't any reason for that to happen in the first place. Which comes to why I'm using Camron and Mase as the example for all the men who said or didn't say anything about this battle, but specifically when Euphoria dropped. There's a reason why the men I mentioned above was saying what they said and acting how they were acting. Not just the fact that Drake had Dipset on stage with them, by the way. A lot of men were acting so fucking cringy, jealous, and pathetic when kdot dropped this song, and afterwards. Gilly the Kid, who said Euphoria was whack sauce, or something to that effect. Ice Cube, who for some reason needed to remind everyone that No Vaseline was the best diss track of all time and that he was Kendrick before Kendrick, and wasn't at all that supportive at first, which is so sad. And Ice-T made a shady comment that surprised me because I definitely would have thought he would have loved all of this as a metalhead and hip-hop star. Come on. Then you have all the other super silent rappers that may have sat there and said, I don't listen to this music, which I somewhat don't believe. The silent rappers and not so silent ones, you know what Kendrick did to them that has never been done before. You know what Kendrick did to them that has never been done before in the history of musical hip-hop battles? He emasculated them. He emasculated them with one song. That is the word. Emasculated. He made Gilly, Camron, Mase, Fat Fucking Mouth Joe, all these mouthy ass dudes, and those who didn't say a thing. Side note, or slickly said shit on their albums that subsequently came out after the battle ended. You know who you are. Who didn't say a thing during this battle feel like they had no hanging balls that dropped. Peen done turned inward, hid, and shivered. Kendrick's one song made these men feel a certain way about themselves, about their abilities as rappers, questioning their pen. It can be all or some of the above. Just like one verse from Light That changed the game. Euphoria was the start of changing rap battle history. But what that man packed into the 6+ minute song was nothing short of jaw-dropping. Euphoria is masterful and exactly how I pictured Kendrick would quote-unquote whoop feet. Opening the song with an R&B soul sample, Teddy Pendergrass, and pack the opening with lyrics, measured, not slowly, delivered, to brace everyone for what's to come. It irritated me when I saw people being so friggin' impatient for Dot to get to where it will get intense, lively, or faster. I call these fuckers 10-second chumps. Can't hang and need everything to hurry up and get to the point. I hope all y'all don't fuck like that. Just saying. What Kendrick was doing was building suspense. Suspense. Something we have long missed in music. Although I can count a few people who still practice this art. This design. Suspense is what we loved about every goddamn song before the fucking 2000s came along. Immediacy has become the meal to consume for nearly 2 fucking decades. Boring. Not only did Kendrick tap into his own artistry and creativity, but he also tapped into his musical and possibly theater, movie influences to carve out such vocal display with impressive inflections and changing of voices and music theory, and the first official full-length diss track from him. The bar certainly was raised by this quiet giant. And the production, fabulous and perfect. The beginning was poetic with this hilarious sense that everything was going to be calm. At least to the people who are not fans of Kendrick and fans of real, well-crafted music. But it was such a slow and cool bop to it, at least for me. I had the squint in my eyes and head nod going strong. Then came the horns and shoo, shoo, shoo. And that was it. More rapid suspense before he dropped the first verse. You see, Kendrick clearly understands and thinks how a song will sound live and how a person will react to it. I think artists, minus rock and some other musical genres, need to think more in this light. Again, this is what I missed about the music I listened to growing up, and hip-hop is surprisingly not the genre I consume the most. Yes, I grew up on hip-hop. This Brownsville girl who loves metal, rock, funk, R&B, my first concert was Metallica in 1997 at Madison Square Garden, the day after Biggie died. I digress. Songs like All Night Long, All Night by Lionel Richie, Little Red Corvette by Prince, A Night to Remember by Shalimar, Something About You by Level 42, The Choice Is Yours by Black Sheep, In Particular by Blonde Redhead, One by Metallica, and so many more. I can name that have suspense in various parts of their songs, in the beginning or throughout. That feeling of when a song makes you excited and when the song is done, you crave more of it because of that build or build-up that has grips on you and you're about to lose your mind because the musicality behind it and the chords played so well thought out to make you, the listener, want to move some and all parts of your body to the music. So yes, Kendrick's first full-length diss track was going to be cinematic and suspenseful, and it had to be. Why? The differences between him and Drake. Drake doesn't have suspense in his music. Straight to the point, checks all the what must be in a hit song for the 2010s boxes, which is what is quote-unquote popular now. Talk about women. Oh, excuse me for being considerate about women. I'm sorry. Bitches and hoes. Money. Fame. Trap beat. Halfway decent hook. Probably a feature. Auto-tune. Probably somewhere in the song. Boring. I feel like Kendrick had to remind people what real rap songs, thought out rap songs, sounded like again. Some thoughts on some of the lyrics of Euphoria. Now, I don't have a whole lot because there are many deep dives out there, but some lyrics that caught my attention. Try cease and desist on the Like That record. Oh, what? You only like that record? Sorry. Oh, man. The audacity of Drake to sit there and accuse Kendrick of sending a cease and desist for tailor-made freestyle. I'm sorry. Like, how dare this fucking dude? As Kendrick said, he's a master manipulator and habitual liar too. This dude produced not one bit of proof, but Metro Boomin sure did for like that, and I wouldn't be surprised if this case Aubrey has for UMG makes it to trial. This evidence, if it makes it to trial, this evidence will come out. Now that I mentioned the case with UMG, who is the most likely person sending cease and desist? You're right, Drake. Cease and desists are for hoes. So I guess you were talking about yourself, fuckface. Remember, Aubrey, discovery. The next set of lyrics. That's hoe shit. I got a son to raise, but I can see you don't know nothing about that. Waking him up, know nothing about that. Then tell him to pray, know nothing about that. Then giving him tools to walk through life day by day, know nothing about that. Teaching him morals, integrity, discipline. Listen, man, you don't know nothing about that. Speaking the truth, considering what God's considering, you know nothing about that. Kendrick was so slick here. So slick. I think Kendrick played with how he pronounced his words, and it makes this whole part of this section of the song, part of this section of the lyrics have a double meaning. You don't know nothing about that. What I also hear is you know nothing about dot. Listen to how Kendrick sings this part. Kendrick essentially tells Drake he knows nothing about how to raise a child and be a good example in his life. However, in between telling Drake what he doesn't know about being a good father, Kendrick is also telling him he doesn't know a fucking thing about him. Or it could be a combination of Kendrick and Dot that Drake doesn't know, and he doesn't. The boy had to go on social media and a half-ass listen to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers to find anything on Kendrick. Google searched for information on Dot, and all he got was the R. Kelly Spotify shit. Sad as hell. The next set of lyrics. What I learned is niggas don't like the West Coast, and I'm fine with it. I'll push the line with it. Yes, Kendrick, you're right about this 100%. And side note, I have been seeing, I think it's the Culture United. I didn't watch the video, but I see that people were talking about, is it the West Coast that doesn't like the East Coast, or is it the East Coast that doesn't like the West Coast? And, what I'm about to read, I have to say this, it's, for as long as I've been living in the East Coast as a young person at the time, New Yorkers had an issue with West Coast music for a minute during the time when I was growing up. And I'll continue reading. And the fact that it's still a question to this day tells me a lot about what's going on. And for any East Coaster, or at least the OGs in the game, to pretend that they still don't have a problem is a little ridiculous. Because they're not outright coming out and saying that they don't have a problem. And it makes you think. But anyway. So yes, Kendrick, you're right about this 100%. I'm going to stand on that. I'm going to speak for the East Coast, mainly New York. Yes, it's true that New Yorkers do listen to West Coast music. A lot. Not always with the homies though. Growing up, I always heard all hip-hop music, no matter what the region was, blaring and or out the projects, apartments, homes, etc. However, New York is ridiculous when it comes to other rappers being from anywhere other than the 5 boroughs. There is almost a sense that New Yorkers feel like hip-hop belongs to them and only them, which is, again, ridiculous. If anyone dares say that someone from another state or region is the best rapper to them, it's not true. It almost can't happen because New York is the best. New York is, excuse me. New York is the state that birthed this thing called hip-hop. Therefore, anyone being better than someone that's not from New York is bullshit. And there must be some sort of conspiracy, etc. For the most part, it just doesn't happen. My God, fucking New Yorkers didn't even want to acknowledge New Jersey. Go find the latest interview with Redman on Sway in the Morning, where he talks about his beginnings in rap and how it went for him in New York. The bias of New Yorkers with hip hop is sad, and I dislike it immensely. Plain and simple. New York, it makes us look weak. We're supposed to be the ones looking at everyone in other regions and states, nodding like, yeah, that's our influence. This is we're the influencers. That's influence. We should be proud of how many people love this art form and look to us as the originators. But instead, there's jealousy that the West, specifically California, has mostly taken the art form and has rivaled the East Coast, specifically New York, with the very sound they originated with their own style and have been insanely successful with it. We know damn well that's really where our annoyance lies. Some say it's because of the Tupac and Biggie beef. Because Pac switched sides and started to represent West Coast. And I put switch with air quotes. Here's the thing. Tupac knew where he came from and he never forgot it. He always said he had love for the East Coast, for New York. He was born there. However, the sheer amount of negative shit he's gone through in NYC is crazy. I can understand why he felt the way he felt. Quad Studios' attempted murder was what pushed him over the edge. How the fuck would you feel if this happened to you? For some, you would be looking at your birthplace sideways for a while. And I'm going to add in this. People got to remember who he comes from. What his family went through in New York. And I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it right there. You do your research. I digress. The narrative of the Biggie Pac shit, I don't buy it. The West Coast had insane talent, and that was hard to swallow for New Yorkers, because no one can be better than New York, and that is unheard of. And that is pure shite. Talent is talent, and if it meant that the best lyricist was from fucking Council Bluffs, Iowa, then so be it. Where a person is from should never fucking dictate who is better or what sound is better. Music is fucking music. Art is art. Love it, enjoy it, and shut the fuck up. And this is why I'm disappointed that not too many MCs, OGs in the hip-hop game came out and had an opinion on someone who was being lyrical and bringing it back to the 90s and before. Emasculation. That word comes up again. Common, Pete Rock, Big Daddy Kane, Exhibit, Nas are some of the few people who have spoken positively about Kendrick in this battle. To now see some of the older rappers from the 80s and 90s putting out albums almost like, oh shit, it's safe to come out and be lyrical again. It's wonderful to see, but from these older rappers, I get a sense that they wanted to remind the West Coast and the world who the true masterminds and originators of this art form is, rather than it be a celebration of the man who stopped the owl from continuing the shitey course of lazy music and a celebration of lyricism is loved again. I repeat, it's wonderful to see from these older rappers, but I get a sense that they wanted to remind the West Coast and the world who the true masterminds and originators of this art form is, rather than it be a celebration of the man who stopped the owl from continuing the shitey course of lazy music and a celebration of lyricism is loved again. By the way, New York, I'm blaming you for what happened to hip hop in the early 2000s up until Kendrick had the balls to say enough is enough. The beginning of New York's stranglehold in music started slipping with Puff Daddy. Let's be real. Shiny fucking suits and sampling in the production that was so friggin' obvious it makes you clench your teeth. Like cavities. Too sweet. Lazy work equals millions of dollars and made at the expense of true lyricists such as Biggie and Craig Mack. Yes, Biggie made those songs what they were, but Puff and his team didn't do much with their samples. It was the sample. Maybe speed it up or slow it down some, then put a beat over it right quick and voila, you got a song. And some people, may know what I'm talking about, and some people will, especially if you know production. I couldn't wait for Biggie to leave Puffy so he could work with a real producer who could really curate and work around his high-level lyricism, charisma, creativity, and power. At least Tupac was able to work with whom he wanted. Big, not so much. It hurts so much that we will never be able to hear and see that forever under Puff's rule and production. Because of this design made by Puffy, this started to follow suit. Not much brain power to make a pop rap hit. Once Biggie passed, music changed. Biggie and Pac's passing put hip-hop in a bit of a depression, even though Jay-Z, DMX, and a few others were banging out hits. Something was always missing that should never have been missing, and Big and Pac has since been always mentioned in music. They left a huge fucking hole that has never been fully filled and might never happen. Might never happen again. Anyways, New York okayed Puffy's behavior and allowed that man to rule hip-hop for far too long, enough that he became a billionaire. Not just Puffy I have to blame. A lot of rappers started pivoting from hip-hop to pursue other endeavors, such as acting. There's not one issue with that. However, when you nearly abandon hip-hop, what the hell do you think other regions, states are going to do? Just sit there and twiddle their thumbs and wait for New York or the East Coast to come back around to their art form? No. Other talented and not so talented mofos come out to play, all inspired by New York. One last thing. Y'all co-signed Drake. Side note. Insert fucking funk master no flex. No fucking way any man or woman who isn't half white would get a pass for using a phone to fucking freestyle. Absolutely no respect for anyone who thought this was O-fucking-K. People like Funk would not be okay with Kendrick. I repeat, not be O-fucking-K with Kendrick fucking Lamar or any other rappers who could care less about freestyling using a phone. That is not freestyling. Y'all take up for that, which is insane to me. Y'all would rather say Drake is better because he isn't a threat. Y'all know full and well that fucker doesn't touch Kendrick in lyricism and creativity. Easy to like a non-threatening mofo than one who could challenge y'all. That's lame and weak and unlike the New York I grew up in or thought I grew up in. So with that said, East Coast and New York, thank Kendrick for putting confidence and competitive spirit back in you again. Next set of lyrics. I be at newhoking eating fried rice with a dip sauce and a blammy, crody. Tell me you cheesin', fam. We can do this right now on a camera, crody. Kendrick had a double entendre with the newhoking reference. Just like what I pointed out in my Family Ties post, I think allegedly that Dot's fam and or Dot may have been threatened. Dip sauce in urban slang could mean stylish. May mean nothing but blammy as a gun. Dot appears to be with the shits, and I will walk away and say nothing more on this one. Draw your own conclusions. Dot challenging Drake to a battle on camera is excellent on all fucking fronts. Drake would lose miserably because from what we saw, that man cannot freestyle on command. Using a phone is not freestyling. Even the BS songs he has released with part of the title having freestyle in it is annoying and lame. I swear the definition of freestyling has changed since the 90s. The fact that anyone in the hip-hop community has allowed Drake to run with these shitey titles because he became quote-unquote successful is ludicrous. Anyways, kdot knows Drake wouldn't accept that challenge, and he sure did not when Euphoria was released and heard that Dot said to him. He's not writing those lyrics. Has been known for all those years. You know what? I find this lyric of this song to be very overlooked in some ways, especially when some of the bigger platforms like Joe Budden podcasts, side note, who seems to side with Drake even if they were seen dancing to Not Like Us and singing Dot's praises on the battle, but continue to nitpick every freaking fucking thing Kendrick does, but not necessarily Drake. The bar is low for Drake on that podcast. So if he does one thing right, Kendrick will have to do about 5 more things better to get equal respect. Disgusting. They should rewatch their own fucking episodes. You can like Drake for being a decent actor and knowing how to pen, quote unquote, pop songs, not as a rapper or lyricist, but don't sit there as a forum to the fucking culture and be lazy and hypocritical and not do real fucking research on subjects you speak of. The moodiest fucking podcast I ever fucking watched. I'm sorry. I was saying. I find this lyric of the song to be very overlooked in some ways, especially when some of the bigger platforms like Joe Budden podcasts, who seem to ignore a lot of what Dot said on the record. And this line for me is what I feel Joe would have been perfect to have an opinion on Drake's ability to battle Kendrick on camera, shit, or even in person. No, not what we got. Just lazy reporting with no research. Just people walking in and writing on the board on what's trending and interesting for the day. Insert the biggest fucking eye roll. I almost wish that they did battle on camera. Drake's L would have been much worse. Much worse. Although his L is horrifying enough. But I sure as hell wouldn't mind more of it. We don't want to hear you say nigga no more. Finally, the last line of Euphoria that people mention in passing. People think this line is only directed at Drake. I don't think it is. This was a shot at Kanye as well. The way Dot sung this line was directly taken from Kanye's song Get 'Em High from his album College Dropout. Dot used Ye's own melody cadence, which was super dope, but not for what people think, especially those who are active fans of Kanye. Kendrick didn't say this line in this way to pay homage to Ye. In fact, it was the opposite. Kanye's three-faced ass decided to jump into the battle saying, "I got you, Dot," on Like That remix, which was mediocre at best. Yes, his best line was towards J. Cole, but he added nothing to the sauce. I don't think Ye thought Kendrick would come out being so insanely successful in the battle. I think he knew Dot would win, but the display, the strategy, what Dot did is the word I will keep saying on this post. Ye fell victim to emasculation. It didn't matter that he is a successful musician in his own right. What Dot did was simply masterful and spun most of the rap world into little jealous children. And yes, Ye became a jealous child. J. Cole is also added to this mix. For him to make that record, 7-Minute Drill, being the first one to put out a full-length song, Cole purged all his envy into that song. Everything he felt about Kendrick Lamar underneath it all came flying out his fucking mouth. Then wanted to backtrack and apologize. And then still send the man more subliminals. And yes, I absolutely the most steely, eagle-eyed stare at Cole. What the fuck? But I digress. Kendrick said what he said at the end of the song because simply, Ye has displayed how much he doesn't care about his people. More so black women. But he so badly wants to be accepted by any other race than his own. The incredible amount of harmful shit he has said about black people supporting a cockbag like Trump who cares only for himself and definitely doesn't care about people of color. Ye went out of his way to distance himself from people of color, but only uses us when he wants to whine and complain about the man doing something to him. And because we are such a forgiving people, we go and back this idiot. Side note, listen, I can support a person's right to their political beliefs, and I do. However, when they lean so far away into hell to the point they care not for the very people who support you, that look like you, I have a problem with that. Some people are Republican purely because they have economic beliefs and so on, but not because they dislike people of color. Read up on different types of conservatives. I sure the fuck ain't one. Kendrick sent that scathing stray, "We don't want to hear you say nigga no more," because he sure the fuck doesn't want that man to be using a word that he truly means it when he says it with a hard ER. Kendrick, to me, showed that he was tired of Ye and his bullshit. So it came as no surprise that Kanye started talking shit about Kendrick. I wasn't surprised at all. To wrap it up, we are all seeing it. The insane high-level standards they have for Kendrick. Like, he isn't a human being first. And then try to say, well, he criticized this person and that, not realizing that he isn't the only fucking artist who has criticized and or have opinions about other artists. Hell, we got motherfuckers who've been out here pushing drugs on their own people. Rap about it. Then have all the fucking goddamn opinions in the world about other artists and their lifestyles. But oh no, Kendrick can't have opinions because he's Mr. Morale and Mr. Alright and Mr. Loyalty and Mr. Good fucking kid. Get a life. The jealousy is sad and pathetic, and unless kdot did some shit to these people, rappers, music producers, etc., come out and say it then. But no, I doubt that will happen. It already would have been done. Kendrick doesn't need to acknowledge and work with every motherfucker in the rap industry, past or present. So so that y'all can feel important. I feel like that's part of the reason some folks in the industry are salty. Kendrick has already paid respect to the OGs in the game many times. Many times. And seeking validation from a grown man is unfortunate, and I suggest these same individuals who are going through this particular symptom should listen to Mr. Morale on the Big Steppers. Dot has some medicine he's already prescribed in that album. Do yourself a favor and listen. If it were someone not as lyrical as Kendrick that slayed Drake, that murdered him in this rap beef, the outpouring for that person would have been momentous and hugely substantial, because it won't be no threat. In the end, Euphoria, this 6-minute plus giant of a song, had people in their feelings and emasculated many, many men. I just gave my 2 quarter cents.